to struggle. On today's video, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the new plans and preparation box that is set to release on a week from the time of this recording, which will be the 7th of July. This is going to be one of the boxes that is going to be made available with this first post-release wave. So there's going to be this box, the Inquisitor's Jedi Hunter box, as well as I believe the You Cannot Run Rivals box is going to be coming out as well. So we're going to be getting, it looks like 3 boxes, 2 normal expansions, 1 being the big one. But what we're going to do is jump into looking at this box right now. So we do have, this box is going to be coming with Luminara Unduli, Barriss Offee, and the clone Commandos. So as far as lore goes, there's not a steeped lore with Luminara. She shows up a little bit in the Clone Wars. You do see her in some of the books and comics as a side character for the most part. The biggest events that we see her in is when there is another attack on Geonosis in during the Clone Wars when she teams up with Anakin, and then Barriss and Ahsoka team up together to do a side mission during a battle on Geonosis. So it's a very interesting dynamic there with that, and definitely want to go into a little bit more into Barriss as we get out into her, because she actually has a very interesting story when we look at her in the Clone Wars as well. But let's go ahead and jump into Luminara and what she offers as a character in this game. So Luminara is Luminara Jedi Master Luminara Unduli. She has 8 squad points, 3 force. She is a primary unit that is a 1 model unit. She has 9 she can take up to 9 damage with 3 stamina. So she can take a total of 27 hits over the course of the game. So she's probably going to be on the board for the entire time. She is a Force user. She has the tag of Force user, Galactic Republic, and Jedi. So she has 2 active abilities that we would need to look at here. And this is what makes this box very unique compared to the other boxes that we've seen, or other primaries that we've seen so far. Her first ability is called Full Recovery. It costs 2 force, so she is a very force-dependent character. So when you're looking at taking her, I understand that you're probably going to be spending quite a bit of force to utilize her. The way this reads is, choose an allied unit within range 3. The chosen unit may remove all damage and conditions from itself. So yes, it costs 3 force, but boy does that do a lot. Especially if you're looking at taking someone like Anakin as the other primary unit. You spend 2 force, you send him in, have him do some damage, have him fight face to face with somebody out there, and then turn around and you're able. And after he takes a couple of attacks, if Luminara comes up during, you draw her card, or even draw her your Shatterpoint card, you can utilize her to just heal up any damage that he's taken, as long as he is, of course, not wounded. Her other ability is called Sprint. It costs 1 force. Each character in this unit may dash. So she has some additional movement that she can take into consideration. So definitely a good little ability there for additional movement that she can provide. She has 1 reactive ability that is called Precise Strike. That does also cost 1 force. After this unit makes a combat action, it may use this ability. Choose an allied Galactic Republic supporting unit within range 3 of a character in this unit. If the chosen unit's order card is in the order deck, each character in this unit may dash. In that unit may dash. If the chosen unit order card is not in the order deck, 1 character in that chosen unit may make a 5 dice attack. So what the biggest takeaway with this particular ability is that you want to make sure that you are keeping her within range 3 of the other character of the other supporting units. So if you're taking a pair of, or 2 sets of clone troopers, whether it's the Commandos or the 501st or the 212th, whoever you're taking. You want to make sure they're within range too, so you can move each character if you've already taken advantage of them in their order deck, or if you want to make a 5 dice attack with just one of them. So just to keep in mind with placement is very important with this game, as we've seen with a lot of the different characters that we've utilized. But definitely want to make sure you're keeping her within range 3 to use all of her abilities. That full recovery has to be within range 3. To use precise strike has to be within range 3. So there is quite a bit to keep in mind when utilizing Luminara here. And her last ability is called Flow of the Force. Once per turn, when an enemy unit becomes wounded, after the effect is resolved, one allied character may dash. So right off the bat, it's just a reactive ability. As soon as somebody it's just an active ability. When somebody becomes wounded, boom. Not an active, not a reactive ability. As soon as someone becomes wounded, though, an enemy becomes wounded, one of your characters is moving. So that's something to keep in the top of your mind when you're utilizing her, that this is just going to happen, and you need to make sure that you're taking advantage of that, not forgetting it. When it goes on to read, because there's 3 parts to this. When an enemy character wounds an allied unit after the effect is resolved, a character in another allied unit may heal 3 times. So recover 3 times. So that's either taking off damage or removing conditions. So again, she's a healer. That's what we're getting out of her. Is she is definitely making sure other people are healing. So an enemy gets wounded, you're moving somebody, you're healing somebody. So a lot of good things coming from her, just having her on the battlefield. And there is no range necessary on this one, so you don't have to worry about the range, keeping her within a certain range of another character. And last there is, you may look at the top card of your order deck before revealing an order card or choosing to activate a unit from reserve. So this is really cool. As far as, again, yeah, the really cool ability here allows you to look at the top of your deck and not necessarily manipulate the top of your deck, but at least lets you know the decisions, lets you have more information before you make a decision, like utilizing the card in reserve before you just flip a card. So I like that ability. It's pretty neat, especially if you are someone who utilizes the reserve mechanic quite a bit, and are putting those cards in reserve early. It's really good to have that there. So I definitely like that ability, and that there is no other requirements. This is just a third separate part of that. So really cool. That said, let's go ahead and look at her, the first stance card that she has. Again, she is a primary, so she's going to have 2 sides of that stance card. First one is Form 3. On this side, again, as most Jedi, there is no ranged attack. She has 6 dice for her melee and 6 for both ranged and melee defense. There is 6 steps to this. She has a pretty unique tree where on the second step she can either go up or down, and then it comes right back down. So it's only one time that it splits to the top level, and then there's a split to the bottom level. So it's a pretty straightforward tree for the most part. So on the first step, basically you can go and take 1 damage. If you decide to go to the top instead of go straight, you're looking at getting a pin, and as well as 2 more damage. If you go on the other side of the straight go across, you have 2 heals. So it's really either you're healing or you're doing 2 damage. Then it goes to, if you're at the top or the middle, you can go back down to that middle section where you would get a shove and 2 damage at the third thing. Or if you decided to go on the middle track with that 2 heals, you can go down and do just 2 straight damage. So going along the middle track again, if you on the fourth one you would get a damage, and then the last one is going to be 3 heals. On the bottom track you would get a jump and 2 damage, and then back up to that 3 heals. So no matter what, you're always finishing, if you make it through those 5, at 3 heals. So pretty interesting looking track. Looks like at most you're probably going to be doing looks like 6 damage. So not a whole lot of damage to output with her. Her expertise charts are pretty interesting though. On the melee side, 1 expertise gets you a crit and a hit. 2 to 4 gets you a crit and 2 more hits. And then 5+ gets you 2 crits and a another hit. So pretty interesting there. I like what happens on her defensive focused defense on her defensive expertise side. 1 gives you a block and reduces that a critical to a normal hit. 2 to 3 gets you 2 blocks and reduces a 1 regular hit to a reduces a critical to a hit, and then also reduces a hit to a failure. And then if you get 4+, you're looking at 3 total blocks, plus a reduction from a crit to a hit, and a reduction from a hit to a failure. So pretty interesting stance tree and expertise chart for her on that Form 3 Zurusu side. Let's take a look at her other card, and that is the Form 2 Makashi. Again, with this one is a little more potent. You got again no defensive or no melee on the. No ranged on the melee. We're looking at 7 dice, and then defensive wise, she's got 5 defensive dice at range, 6 at melee. The defense or the chart itself, the tree is pretty straightforward. It's really straight across with 2 potential deviations. It starts with right at 1 hit and a reposition. You can go straight across to 2 damage, or you can go up to a damage and a shove. Then it comes back down to the 1 consolidated point, which is a shove and a damage. Then going straight across again is 2 damage, or you can go up to a damage and a jump, and then back down to 2 damage and a shove. So overall, if you go straight across, you're looking at doing a total of 8 damage. If not, if you wanted to go up both times, you're looking at the very least, if you did the full chart, a total of, that's 6 damage. But there is a lot of movement in this chart with the repositions and the shoves and the jumps. So not a lot of other things going on other than doing damage and movement shenanigans as far as Luminara is concerned. On her expertise charts, again, we're looking at the lightsaber is 1 to 2 is a critical and a hit. 3 to 4 is a critical and 2 hits. 5+ is 2 criticals and 1 hit. And her strategic defense expertise chart is going to give you 1 is going to give you 1 block. 2 to 3 is going to give you 2 blocks, and 4+ is going to give you 2 blocks and a jump. So overall, not the greatest on this side. I think the other side is probably going to be where most people spend most of their time, but you do get an extra attack dice here. I'm not sure how much that's going to matter compared to what the additional benefits that seem to be on the other side, on her Form 3 side. But I think that's going to be more of a trial and error and see how we play and how that all works out. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our secondary unit, and that is Barriss. Barriss is an interesting character in what we've seen from her in the shows. She was a Jedi apprentice and actually was the mastermind of the bombing of the Jedi Temple. Spoiler alert there, if you haven't already known that. She was the mastermind behind the bombing of the Jedi Temple, who would actually set up, she actually framed, for the most part, probably not on purpose to begin with. I don't think that was probably the initial intention, but she did frame our favorite Padawan, Ahsoka Tano, for that bombing, which ended up leading to Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order and everything along those lines. So a very interesting character. She influenced the Star Wars universe more so than I think was intended, simply because of the popularity of Ahsoka Tano and having Ahsoka leading the Jedi Order. But let's go ahead and look at Barriss Offee and the Jedi Padawan. She is a 4-point cost character, doesn't offer any force. She is a secondary with 1 unit. She can take up to 8 damage and has 2 stamina, so 16 total damage she can be taking throughout the course of the game. She does have the keywords of Force User, Galactic Republic, Jedi, and Padawan. She does have 2 active abilities. Force Push. This is, I think, the first time we've seen this ability on a Jedi, not on a light side character, so to speak. So this is 2 force. Choose a character in this unit and an enemy character within 3 of this unit. Push the enemy character 3 away from the chosen allied character. Very good displacement in this game. It is pretty much the I think the premium displacement that we have. So I do enjoy this. This particular ability, I use that quite a lot on Asajj and everything along those lines when I play her, because I do play her right now in my droids unit. And I do enjoy using her force push, just pushing people off points. That displacement is amazing. She also does have one other active ability called Force Speed. This does cost 1 force. Choose each character in this unit may advance. So it's a full movement, the long movement, which is pretty nice, I think, as far as I'm concerned. And she also has the reactive ability of Slip Away. When another allied Galactic Republic character targets an enemy character that is engaged with one or more characters in this unit with an attack, this unit may use this ability. One character in this unit that is engaged with a target character may immediately reposition. If it does, it gains a hunker token. So basically, if she's engaged with somebody and somebody else becomes engaged with that character as well, one of your Galactic Republic characters, that is important when you're looking at force building, it allows her to move out of engagement range and gain a hunker token. So might be kind of nice to have her along with Obi-Wan, some because of that hunker synergies as well, and that the ability to, it's just a reactive ability for her to move and get a hunker token as long as she is not doesn't have an injury going on. And her last ability is an innate ability called Faithful Padawan. Well, an enemy character is engaged with a character in this unit, and a character in another allied Jedi primary unit character in this unit and character in the allied Jedi primary unit add 2 dice to their melee attack targeting that enemy. So to put it a little bit easier to understand, if she's engaged with an enemy and there's a Jedi primary that's engaged with an enemy, both of them add 2 dice to their melee attack. So really nice ability if she's engaged. So you kind of want to get her engaged and potentially have her move out to keep her healthy. If she's not, to make sure she's not wounded and everything along those lines. There is a second part to this. After this unit makes a recover action, each other allied character within 3 of may remove 1 damage or any condition from itself. And keep in mind that is each allied unit just gets to do it as long as they're within 3. So you kind of want to have her in the center as well. Her placement is very important for that ability, just like with her master in Luminara. So let's go ahead and take a look at her stance tree, her stance card. She has no range attack, 6 melee dice, and 4 and 5 respectively for her defensive dice. She has 2 starting positions on her card. She can either do a shove and a damage or a reposition and 2 damage. Those combine into 1 at the second one, which is going to give you a shove and another damage, and then a potential split again. If we stay on the top track here, it's going to get an expose and a damage. The fourth one will give you a jump and 2 damage, and then she gets to use her active ability, one of her active abilities, for free, minus any additional force cost that might be applied with that. But she does get to use that ability. But you can only use it once. But she gets to use that ability as well if you make it to the end of her chart. So you get that free force push with her in some cases, and that's what it's same with like Asajj, which I really like, where you can just bam, use that force push. If you decide to go to the bottom track on the third, you're getting a shove and a damage, and the fourth one is going to give you a shove and 2 damage. So again, a lot of movement with this. There is a potential of 4 shoves if you go to the bottom track. So a lot of displacement along with that shove as well. So I'm sorry, that force push. So she's got a lot of displacement on her card. So very interesting. And our last unit in this is going to be the Clone Commandos. This is our newest clones, and I think this is probably the best clone unit that we are going to have thus far in the game. Not a lot of lore behind them, but they are definitely a very interesting unit as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. They are a 4-point cost, 0 force Republic Clone Commandos. They are a supporting unit with 2 models. They can take up to 6 damage and can take up to 2 wounds, so 2 stamina. So 12 total. They have a couple of different tags here. Clone Commandos, which we haven't seen yet. Clone Trooper, which we have. Galactic Republic, and Trooper. So the Clone Commando is a new tag that we haven't seen to this point. They have a one active ability, which we have seen on all all clones, which is Defensive Maneuver for 1 force. Each character in this unit may dash. If any character does dash, this unit gains a hunger token. So we've seen this before. Reactive ability we have also seen before, Coordinated Fire. When a character in another allied Galactic Republic unit makes an attack as part of their combat action before dice are rolled, this unit may use this ability. If the target character is within 5 of a character in this unit, the target unit suffers a damage. So automatic damage as long as you're in the right place. There is 3 innate abilities. Again, one of those we have already seen before, Brother in Arms. While this unit it has 1 or more hunger tokens, character in this unit have Steadfast. Basically can't be pushed with a shove the first time it's utilized. So you'd have to shove twice just to displace them. Now they do have 2 additional abilities. One being Ascension Cables. Characters in this unit have Scale, meaning they can climb. Then the last one is Commando Armor. Characters in this unit have Protection. Basically what this does is reduce the damage by 1 for every damage pool associated. So it gives them a little bit more durability than the other clones by having that keyword. So a pretty interesting one there, and I think that kind of is what puts them over the top of the 212th for sure. They're definitely better than the 501st, but the 501st are 3-point cost. So as far as 4-point cost clones are concerned, I think these guys are head and shoulders above the 212th and should be slotted in the event that if you're just running Anakin and Obi-Wan like in the stock wave one list that we have seen so far. I think these guys are worth subbing in over the 212th, so worth taking a look at. And lastly, let's go ahead and take a look at their combat tree and stance cards. So again, looking at them, they have a range 5 like most clone troopers do for the range attack of 6 dice. They can go into melee with 5 dice, and they have a 5 and 4 for their defensive dice. They have a pretty straightforward tree as well. The first 2 are on the same level as far as their tree. First one is 2 damage, 1 is a pin. And then it splits, and this is the only split that they have on their tree. You can go up on the upside there, do 2 damage, or you can give them a strain and a damage. And then it comes back together for the 4th at 2 damage. And then the last but not least, it does 2 damage and a reposition. So not a whole heck of a lot here, but they can do on the top end a total of 8 damage if you go full on their tree. If you go to the bottom, they get 7 damage, but they can give that strain special condition. So interesting tree that they have there. Pretty straightforward. It is better than I think the other clones that we have out there as of right now. Looking at their expertise side, they have the DC-17M 1 CWS blaster rifles, 1 to 2. 1 to 2 is going to give you a critical hit. 3+ is going to give you 2 critical hits. At the melee range for vibro blades, 1 is going to give you a regular success. 2 is going to give you 2 successes. 3+ is going to give you a critical and a regular hit. And lastly, they have their Kataran class commando armor. 1 expertise is going to give you 1 block. 2 expertise is going to give you 2 blocks. 3+ is going to give you a block and a reposition. So they are better at range for both attacks and for defense. So this is kind of nice to help you move them out of any type of melee range if they end up getting into it. So again, really interesting unit here. I do like them a lot better than any of the clones that we've seen so far. I think they are definitely an easy switch here when we're looking at going into the other unit, into a different clone. So definitely there, I do like Luminara and Barriss. They offer something very different with the heals that they offer. So a very interesting unit, very interesting group here. So again, I do want to thank everyone for listening today. This has been the Plans and Preparation Box. As always, if you want to give me some support, go ahead and hit me for a follow. Go ahead and subscribe. Ring that bell for any type of notifications whenever I upload a new video. Leave a review or a comment. I definitely like to hear from you. I do try and respond to anything that anybody says. And any corrections that I may have made or things that I may have missed. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Do appreciate it. As always, thanks for listening, and may the Force be with you.